Hello everyone, welcome to Loving Life conversation series, People Who Change the World. Today we have Leslie Grossman, who's the founder of Her Circle Leadership. Welcome, Leslie.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so thrilled to be here with you.
Thank you. So you have been a mentor and an executive coach helping women rise to leadership at the highest level. I want to start with a question that's close and dear to my heart. What do you see is the biggest hindrance for women on the highest level of leadership? You talk about closing the gender gap, 135 years to close, and you want to multiply yourself to make it happen. And how are you doing it?
Yeah, well, thank you for asking me that question right at the outset. It comes from two directions, right? How we're going to make the change. We need for corporations and organizations to be more open to women, to open up their doors to women, which means understanding not only what women contribute, but what women's lives are like, right? But on the other hand, on the other side, we have women that need to look at ourselves and say, what is it that we could be doing that could change the opportunities that exist? And I think so much of it comes from habits that we begin with when we're girls. And we don't make them up ourselves, but we are treated or taught how to behave as girls. And it's very different than how boys are treated and how they're accepted. It's a whole different thing. So you've got those two things. Not to mention that we also now have the research that shows that women's brains are different than male brains. And actually, that's why equality in the workplace and in all organizations is so important, because we both bring different things. Both women and men bring different ways of thinking, and when you put them together, organizations have the best thinking. So it's a lot of different factors. But when I lead my leadership programs, both the ones like the one I do at George Washington University, where I lead programs where we actually have a 3-day intensive with women, helping them look at what the challenges are and what their habits might be that are getting in their way, right? The self-limiting beliefs that often women have, those self-limiting beliefs come from childhood in many cases and are reinforced. So, we're looking at it from a lot of different perspectives.
Self-limiting beliefs.
Yes. And that comes from, let's face it, and I think this is global, and you can reflect if it is or not. We're taught to be good girls from the time we can speak, and to behave a certain way, politely, with good manners, and not to be too loud, not to speak up to adults, right? And not to be kind, which is a very good thing, being kind. But it also is, what else is being kind? Well, maybe it's speaking up on your own behalf, right? And often we don't do that. And you see how when we get to the corporate world, some of those habits that we're taught to be good, to be polite, and gets in our way. And whereas boys, it's very different, right? They can roughhouse, they can speak out, and teachers let them get away with it often. And they have this boys' club where they might kid each other and put each other down, and they're not sensitive about it, of course, unless they're bullied. But girls, on the other hand, if we behave that way, no, we get our hands slapped. So it really starts to transfer into how we communicate, how we see ourselves. If we want to raise our hand, and we raise our hand too often, we're told, no, enough, right? And it gets in our way, because then we stop raising our hand when we're in the business world. And nobody comes along and says, yeah, you're good enough, I'm going to promote you. And if we don't raise our hand and let people know that we want a career that soars, they're not going to know. So it's a lot of different things that get in our way.
It really rings true to me. Sometimes I want to raise my hands and I say, oh, maybe I asked too many questions and no one else is raising their hands. Maybe I should be quiet and just listen. But people want to participate.
Right.
I feel that's a fundamental human motivation. You talk about the self-limiting belief. How can we work through that? How can we have a breakthrough of those self-limiting beliefs?
Yeah, we need to look at it and talk about it. We need to talk about it with other women, and we need to support each other. We need to become aware. First thing is always awareness. Be aware of what is holding you back, not just how other people are holding you back, but what is your behaviors that might be getting in your own way, like not speaking up at a meeting. And you know, women are not necessarily welcome to speak up at a meeting, but if we don't speak up at a meeting, no one knows we have something to say or contribute, right? And then if we get interrupted at a meeting, which often happens, we need to grab back the floor and say, I'm not finished talking yet. So first is awareness of all the things that come up, and there are many, and actually Her Circle Leadership, we got them all laid out there on the website, but it is becoming aware and then looking at how can I change this. And often it is by doing a program, a leadership program, being in a group with other women where you can discuss these things and see, you feel that way too? How can we support each other to get beyond these limiting beliefs? Why do you feel that you're not good enough when you really are? You know? So those are just a few thoughts on it. I got a lot more.
Yes, because that's your program.
Yeah, and it's also, I've been researching this for 20 years. I've been living it for another 20 years. And also talking to women and being part of women's organizations. And it is, I've learned, it is common. It is very common among women. Sure, there are always exceptions, but so many of these habits or these limiting beliefs are just what we've been brought up to. And together we can support each other to get through that.
Yes. You talk about, what's your TED Talk, the value of having an entourage. It's really having a support system, having a circle of leadership.
That's
because
right.
I feel so many women, we feel alone. We feel, oh, we might be the only one who's afraid to do this. But then once you start to create a safe space, like your program, people can really open up about their authentic experience and support each other. So you talk about the women's side, and the men are the other side of the story. What can we do to collaborate better with men to make this world better, in your opinion and experience?
Yeah. I think that we, first of all, in our entourage, which now I've started to call circle, you know, we should have men in that circle also. We need to be talking to men about it. And we need to be speaking up to the leaders in our organization and letting them know, you know, what we want and what's important to us. Because a lot of times, and leaders, both men and women that are leaders, need to be speaking to their women about it. It needs to be coming from both sides. And really, I think there's a lot in the media right now about how leadership and being a manager today is very different than what it was even 5 years ago. And being a leader today means not only having a one-to-one with your people to talk about how good a job they're doing and where they are on a project, but really asking them, how are you? I mean, how are you really? What's going on in your life? Tell me, I really care about you. We need to show that, leaders need to show that they care about the people that work with them. Because when leaders show that they care about the people that work with them, people contribute that much more. It is, they start contributing at an even higher level because they know they're in an organization that cares about their people and that you matter. We all want to matter. And I think older generations, no, that was not the way it was, but it's changed. And I think the pandemic had something to do with that, and the remote work had something to do with that. But it's really how people have felt all their lives. They just ignored it, and that wasn't healthy. So I think today is the time for both women and all leaders to come together and say, let's be there for each other, male and female, and we need to have those conversations together.
Because I feel a lot of time it's it really takes communication for both sides, even women with women, women with men, men with men, to foster a trusted relationship. And in your book, Link, how you talk about how to communicate, how to foster trusted relationship. What do you see as the secret of forming trusted long-term relationship?
I would say that the most important thing is listening. You know, we talk a lot about communication as speaking. But if we are not listening to each other and truly hearing what the other person says, it doesn't matter what you say, right? So I think it is about listening and asking people questions. It's kind of like it is the job of a coach to ask questions. If you have a good coach, it's asking questions. But guess what? In every relationship, if you ask questions to understand better what a person is going through, what is happening in their life, what is happening in their career, then we can really support each other. You know, getting to the humanity in each person and realizing that we are living a life as a whole person. And you and I know we agree on that. And it is not work here and life here. It is not this work-life balance. Well, people would get mad at me when I would say there is no real balance. But I would rather look at it as work-life integration. How do we put it together and be fulfilled in both areas? And how do we make our life, good while we lead a career or lead a business? Because we can do it. And somehow I guess it was, I don't know where I learned it as a child and when I got out of college. For some reason, I always felt like I could do that. Nobody really talked about it. And when I think back, well, my father had a business. My mother was at home, although she was very involved in a lot of activities and was very driven. She was the person who helped people, and my father was the person who built great relationships with people. And somehow, I think when I look back, I learned how to integrate the two things and make that a part of my life and do it with a career. I also saw that entrepreneurs, particularly women entrepreneurs, because that's who I surrounded myself when I had my first businesses and even to this day, they kind of instinctively know how to combine the two, at least the ones that are successful. I think that they have figured out a way to have a successful business but include their family in some way. And the whole idea of technology makes it even more possible now, right? With remote meetings and not having to always fly to see someone. Although I've flown before there was all that technology, I would buy a ticket for my daughter to go with me. And if I was hosting an event, I would have her sitting at the reception desk, teaching her how to receive people and keep track of people, even at 8 and 9 years old. So I always wanted to integrate the two. And I think if we can look for opportunities to do that in different ways for everyone, I think that, we really have the magic formula. It doesn't have to be separated.
Yes, to integrate the two, because the best education to your children is also your presence.
Yes.
To let your family be part of it and let your coworker, like your team, become part of the family. Yeah. And that's the magic. You talk about asking questions, which I believe is key to communication. But the challenge I see sometimes is, say you are having a fight with your partner, whether it's life partner or business partner, and you're on this high emotional charge. You feel, I'm hurt, I'm angry, and then it's very hard for me to calm down and listen. How do you deal with the inner work of how do you deal with emotions?
Okay, I'm not sure I'm the right person to ask that. But I can tell you what I do and what I've learned from other people to do. So everything that I do, there have been things that I innately knew, but most I've learned from others because I'm an observer and a reader and a listener. So I would say we need to learn how to pause. We all need that in life. And I learned that also, by the way, in my personal life with my husband. It's like, I have to pause. when he says something that makes me angry, or if my business partner says something that makes me angry, I take a pause, which we're not all used to doing, and take a breath and say, okay, don't react. You know, when we react, often we regret too, or it doesn't take it to a productive place. So when we pause, and I used to have signs all over my desk, pause, 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 to remind me to pause until it became a part of me. And so whether some people might say take meditation breaths, you know, I wasn't doing that at the beginning. I was just, well, maybe I was. You know, when I think about it, I wasn't a meditation breath, but I would take a breath. And then I would say, okay, help me understand that. Tell me a little bit more about what you're saying. If we can do that, we can get closer to being on the same plane with our business partners, our partner at home, our friends, our family. A lot of times we could be toughest on our families too, right? And that pause is magical. It really is magical. If we do that with our people that we're managing, or we're talking to our boss, instead of when we feel ourselves getting defensive, take a pause and on what they said. And you could have the courage. Sometimes that gives you the moment to have the courage to say what you really feel and speak up. But without a pause, we kind of get into that emotion, right? You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, because I feel pause is about giving yourself and each other space, whether it's time and physical space. It's pause to have a moment to recharge and reset, and then asking the question, how do you really feel? Then the other person can feel, oh, you actually care about me, and this is what I want to say.
Yeah, you're so right. That pause lets the other person know that you care. Just that simple thing. It's a simple action. Nobody really teaches us that.
That's very true.
You know, and it's so simple and so powerful.
Simple and powerful, yes. I feel you're a master of having techniques about how to get through life. You know, you talk about being an entrepreneur your whole life and involving your family and how to manage energy so that your days are productive and happy, and as you grow older you have more wisdom. What are some of the ways that you manage your days and weeks and years to make yourself productive and happy at the same time?
Well, first of all, for the last 20 years, I've always had a vision of the impact I want to have. And I think everyone needs to go through that process of identifying their vision. And some of us have it and some of us don't, but we can all have it. To really know, what is it that lights us up? What is it that we could see ourselves doing that brings us joy and fulfillment, right? And that's always the first piece of every program I do with women and my clients, which are male and female, and training coaches, to help your client identify what their vision is. Once you have identified your vision, then you can start to set goals to get to that vision. And that vision may not happen for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, but you can set the goals to get you there along the way. And I think when you have that, you have the right path. What job should you take if you're in the business world, right? Because you want to take a job that's going to get you toward that vision. You may not live that vision yet, but it's going to be steps getting there. Without a vision, I think we could waste our time. We can do things just to make money, but not get us to where we're going to be lit up fully. So I would say that vision and then goals to get to the vision are the first step.
I love that. It starts from here. It's what we see. Who we want to be, essentially.
Yeah, I always say it's like looking into a crystal ball. And if the fortune teller was to tell you, look in that crystal ball, what do you see yourself doing in that crystal ball? we can get a picture of it. Yeah.
And do you think that's natural for people to see their vision? Are there techniques to help people to see that vision more clearly, to formulate, to create that vision?
I think there are. I think that you're right. It's often difficult for people to see it. I mean, I use a worksheet that I have people, go through and answer questions so that they can begin to get closer to what that is, because it's just not something that comes natural to us at all.
Right.
And I think that's why sometimes people live lives of regret. At the end of their life, they'll say, gee, I wish I had done this. All of a sudden, they'll remember something that lit them up that they just never got to because they were too busy surviving, so to speak, right? Or taking advantage of whatever opportunity came their way instead of realizing that we have to say no sometimes. It's another thing that women need to learn to do, is to say no.
Yes.
And also give away not being perfect, another big thing. That perfectionist thing gets in our way a lot. But I think that vision, sometimes it helps to have somebody else ask you the questions to get you to your vision so that you can then start imagining it in your mind.
Yes, having that crystal ball and then to use the power of imagination. This topic of having a vision and pursuing your passion, which is a strong belief I have. And a lot of the time, even when I talk with my friends who are in consulting, in banking, they're making a lot of money, good reputation. And then they obviously have passion. They have passion about, cooking or music or whatever it is. But then society is often, once you pursue your passion, you're a starving musician, or if you're pursuing your dance career, then you don't make a lot of money. How can we integrate the two? For example, if I were to become an entrepreneur and I worry about, there won't be food on the table next year, how can you help people elevate that fear and really pursuing the vision that they see?
I think that it is a process. Yeah, we're worried about putting food on the table. But, and yes, we do need to put food on the table. And it's okay. Sometimes we do have to take a job, let's say, because that's the only job that's there. But if we keep our vision in our mind, when we take that job, we may find a way to change that job a little bit, or this is where the entourage or the circle comes in. We need to be talking to people. We need to have people around us that we can share that vision with. Because if we're sharing our vision, maybe we don't have to take that job just to put food on the table, but maybe someone in your circle knows you have that vision and they're going to connect you and open up a door for you to take a job where it gets you closer to your vision. See, when we try to do things alone, it can be very frightening and we get desperate. But if we have people around us and we're honest with them and we share our heart and we are interested in what they want to do also, we can support each other to get closer to that vision. So that's why pursuing by ourselves ends up being an act of desperation, right? This is why we need a circle. This is why we need to share and be honest and have really great open conversations with people. And not just surface, with the people that you trust. And sometimes it takes time to build trust. And not everyone that you know is going to be part of that circle. They can be a friend, but maybe they're not in that circle. There might be 5 people in that circle, and you're always looking. This is why I encourage women. We have to be out there meeting people. We need to be part of organizations where we can be doing maybe as a volunteer what that vision might be. Because we're going to meet other like-minded people that care about what we care about. And they may be those people who may lead us to a career that relates to our vision. So we need to be constantly growing that circle of people around us and sharing with them and helping them as well. It's got to be collaborative. It's not about me, me, me. It's about me and you and us and how we can support each other together.
You said it beautifully. It's not about me, me, me. It's about me and you and us. and how we can support each other collectively.
Yes, absolutely.
So how do you grow that circle?
How we grow that circle is by really having conversations with people. You know, not being locked in. I'm at home now, I'm at work now. You know, I'm in the office, I'm at home, I'm just going to focus on those two things. No, it's like, who do you know that you've admired, that you haven't spoken to for a while? Reach out to them. See how they're doing. Find out what they care about. Start reigniting relationships from your past. And this is actually a good time to do it since the pandemic and things are starting to open up again. You know, it doesn't have to be face-to-face anymore too, right? We can do it on the phone, on Zoom, on whatever, you know, technology you use. But start building that circle again. And identify what organization matters to you that you want to be part of. I mean, my whole career, I've been involved in organizations. And that's where I really realized how important it was that women support each other. That's where I really realized how women have some of the same challenges. I was a member of the National Association of Women Business Owners when I was an entrepreneur, a very young entrepreneur. And it actually, not only was I able to help other women, it helped me grow my business. Because people open doors for you when you're with other people, and they understand the contributions you're making and what you care about. So we need to be active with people, and we need to give. And that, I mean, when I started as a member, I ended up on a committee. Next, I became a committee chair. And then after that, I ended up being president of the organization. And that also raised my profile. So my example is an example for any woman.
I love that answer because it's about being involved and being active in organizations, start having conversation, and then the magic will come to you. You attract resources to help shape and make your vision come true.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly. You said it in a nutshell. You really did. It is amazing. Now, sometimes it doesn't feel like that at the beginning, but if we're involved in an organization that we care about and we're committed to, time goes quite fast. If you're in it just to get business and you don't care about it, it doesn't feel the same.
Yes. I always have to end with something more personal. So you have 2 kids and 4 grandkids.
Yes.
And you have mentioned to me you have enjoyed every phase of your life, which I admire, and I love that state. When in the process of your kids growing up, how do you manage this work-life integration? You talk about bringing your kids to help with your work. Were there moments you feel, oh my God, this is very hard? Because I often felt that I'm like 11:30 p.m. and I want to write something more and kids are asleep, but I just can't get the strength. Like during those moments, what do you say to yourself?
Yeah. What you describe about yourself, believe me, I've been there. I've been there. We all go through that. But really the way I handled it when I was younger is a little different than the way I handle it now, but I always did. I mean, I wanted to be with the kids, so I would do what you're talking about. After I put them to bed, then I would go back to my work. To complete it, or at least to make some progress before I couldn't hold my head up anymore, right? But now, I mean, this is where talking about your vision, I've changed how I get to my vision a little differently. So before it was me coaching, me teaching, me. I have to do it all. But now I figured out a way that I can have more time, and that is sharing the work that I do, the expertise that I share, the women's leadership program that I do with others, and let them be the teachers. So that's what a big part of her circle leadership is me training coaches, consultants, HR people, DE&I people, how to bring this body of information, insight, and all of that to other women themselves. So it doesn't all have to be me doing it. I want them to carry this and do it. And now I'm more of a teacher to teachers, You know, so I think that, and I'm finding that that's freeing me up now. That's bringing me both joy and satisfaction, but it also means if someone wants me to go speak, I can say, well, I am unable to do that, but I have two great people for you to choose from that can do that. So it's like bringing it to the next generation, you know, and having that carry on. And that enables me to say no more often and allow me to take more time for myself and my, you know, the things that I want to do in this part of my life.
This is really come to a full circle, because
Yes.
this is another way to support the next generation and freeing yourself. So it's win-win.
That's right. It's a win-win, right? Exactly. And I had never thought about doing that before, you know, my younger years. It was always me, me, me. Oh, I'll speak, I'll teach this workshop, but now it's, no, it doesn't have to be me. I will pass it on to others. And they'll also bring their experiences, not just my experiences. They'll have my research, they'll have all of that, but they'll bring their own personal experiences as well. And that's so valuable, the more we pass it on.
The more we're passing on. Final question, which I always love to ask, is how do you define the success of your life?
How do I define the success of my life? I guess I do feel that I've been successful in life, and that is in giving to others, whether it was going all the way back when I had a marketing public relations firm and helping my clients be successful, or now doing it, you know, as a women's leadership leader. So I would define it as when I've given, but in giving, I've gotten so much joy. And I think when we give and we get joy from it, and I've also been able to pursue, you know, a good lifestyle and do the things in my life and bring the things that I enjoy doing to my family, I feel that my life is successful. And I want to continue doing that and make it even more successful by multiplying what I do.
In giving, you get joy from it.
Absolutely. I don't think there's anything that could bring more joy.
Thank you so much, Leslie. So great having you.
Oh.
Can we hug standing up, or we have to sit?
Oh, this has been wonderful.
Yes.
And you bring joy too.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, this
it's
is
so
great.
lovely having you.
Oh, wonderful to do this with you.